Good morning, C3. Snowmageddon has hit again. And a couple things to pray about this morning real quick. So glad you're joining us online. First is TikTok. I know there's a lot of kids right now really struggling. They don't know what to do. Probably don't know what to do with the rest of their week or even what they're going to do at school, but we are praying for that. Another big issue, though, is tomorrow night, Ohio State, Notre Dame. And here's my problem. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I love them, always have. But I also hate to see Ohio State lose because I'm from Ohio. So pray for me. I'm struggling. I don't know what to do with that game. But I got a question for you guys online. I'd like you to answer this. I want you to post in the comments, what's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done as a teenager and then you got caught? Just kidding. I don't want you guys to post that. If you post that, we'll probably be in Facebook jail. That's not a good idea. But I want to share one about myself real quick. When I was about 12, 13 years old, my best friend in Arabia, Ohio, his name was Jeremiah Triplett. And we got connected with a guy at a store who would sell us illegal tobacco products. Now, tobacco products aren't illegal, but they are when you're 12. And he would sell us cans of snuff. So what we decided to do, probably because of an addiction of nicotine, is we would actually ride our bikes about a mile from our house, and we had this little bridge, and we'd get under the bridge, and we would hide our snuff there. So every day after school, we'd be rushing to get on our bike because we probably just needed that nicotine fix. Go to the bridge, I'm not making this up, go under, get our can of snuff, put a big dip in, and then just ride all night because we loved it, just chewing snuff, having a good time. I remember about 5 or 6 months in, we're way far away from our house, a couple miles out, and I hear a truck just lay on the horn. And I look back, and it's Jeremiah's dad. His name's Merle. No, a lot of awesome names. And Merle literally is laying on his horn because he just sees us riding his bike. Well, he doesn't know we're chewing snuff, and we're caught. Well, my friend Jeremiah, who's way smarter than I am, does what someone smart would do. He takes his lip, he gets it back in his mouth, and spits out that snuff. I panic because I see his truck, don't know what to do. So anyone want to guess? Anybody online? Yes, I swallow the whole thing. And as he comes up to me, I remember he stopped by and he's like, "You boys ride your bike every day after school for hours. You love your bikes." We're like, "Yeah, something like that." But I remember he looked at me and he was like, "You don't look so good. You actually don't look good at all." I'm like, "I don't feel great," getting kind of green. Well, obviously he leaves, and what do you think happens? The mess happens. I lose everything I ate probably for days. And I've got to warn you guys, there's no worse bike ride home than having to ride home about 2 miles on country roads after you vomited and you still feel awful. It's like the Tour de France, except I would say with a lot of vomit and just feeling terrible. So anyways, why did I say that? We all have made messes. Some of you watching and listening right now have made some recent messes. And I got to thinking, what are the messes we find ourselves in? There's relational messes. Some of you are like, "Well, if I had it to do over, I wouldn't have messed up that marriage the way that I did. Oh, if I had it to do over, I would raise my kids differently." Some of you are in a financial mess. And for you, it's like, you know what? We didn't need those credit cards. Young people, listen to me. You don't need the credit cards. It's magic money. But guess what? You have to pay it back. Some of you, though, would say, "You know what? I'm in kind of a mental mess. I'm in my own head a lot. Man, I'm struggling with my thoughts, and I find myself fixating and worrying about things." So we all have messes. And the interesting thing about a mess is sometimes we create those messes. And I'm not bashing any of you, and I'm not trying to be discouraging, but if you are 20 and you grab about 30 credit cards, right, because they'll give them to you in college and when you're young, well, you're probably going to make a mess of your finances. But some messes aren't our fault. Some messes I like to call are inherited, right? And then there's the third type of mess that I think is the worst, and that's because other people are broken and hurt. Those people actually take their mess and dump it on you. They mess on you. I know a lot of people, even at C3 right now, who are going through some crazy tough stuff. And you know why? Because somebody messed on them. So maybe the mess is your fault. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe it's inherited. Maybe it's someone else that did that to us. But what do we do with the mess? I hope this helps you guys. I didn't grow up in church, wasn't a church kid, wasn't, family. We didn't do any of that. So I came into this game as a teenager really not knowing what's going on. But I got to be honest with you guys, because I think of what I had heard in the Bible Belt where I grew up, I always thought God was trying to catch me in my mess. Let me say that again. I always thought God was trying to catch me in my mess. And you come to find out, and that's what we're in this series, week 2 of this year's About to Be Fire. And today we're going to talk about the dirt on you. And what I want you to hopefully see is, how is God really? How does God really? Is God up there excited? Or is he right now excited to catch me up in my mess? Is he angry because I keep messing up? That was the image I had of God. But check out what it says in John 14, starting verse 6. Jesus told them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. If you had really known me, you would know who my Father is. From now on, you do know him, and you've seen him. Wait, Jesus. I haven't seen God. Yes, you have. What's Jesus saying here? He's saying, hey, if you really want to know what the Father's like, watch everything I do, because I am literally God in a bod. I'm God in flesh. So what he's saying is, it's really interesting. He's saying, you want to know what God's really like? Because, you see, they had an Old Testament picture of God. And the Old Testament picture of God is accurate, it's just not complete. God is incredibly holy. Think about this. God is so holy, there's actually stories in the Old Testament where they're like, you can't look at God's face. You can't even be in his presence because it will kill you. That's powerful. He's holy, right? God's also perfect. And his standard through the law is perfect. But what happened is all these religious people, and we do the same, we like take an Old Testament verse and we're like, look at God, look at his anger. And okay, but that's what these people thought. And Jesus comes on scene, he's like, you want to know what my Father's really like? Watch me. So I'm going to argue today in the new covenant, Jesus coming, his death, burial, resurrection, that if you really want to know the heart of God and what God's like, then all you have to do is look to Jesus. Because I kind of lived my life thinking God couldn't wait to catch me or cancel me. But I wrote this down. God doesn't cancel us. He cancels our mess and our failures. So I want you to picture Jesus sitting around with this group, and he makes this statement. I'm the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except me. If you really know me, you would know who my Father is. I'm going to pretend today that as these guys were listening to this, hopefully maybe by a campfire, sitting around a table, that they thought of a moment that happened previously. And this would have been in John chapter 8. So I want to give you a fire flashback. Okay, if Jesus said, I am God in the flesh, then what is God really like? That's the question. I know some of you are like, dude, are you kidding me? I'm literally woke up somewhat early. I know it's 11 to watch this online. You're going to talk about what God's like, but this is critical. Because if you don't get this might mess up your whole year. What is God really like? And like I said earlier, I think we think God wants to dig up dirt. Because that's what we see from religious people. They're always digging up dirt. They're trying to find dirt on people. The Pharisees, who were the religious group at that time, were kind of like TMZ with sandals. They were always looking for like the next gossip and hot scene. Why? Because they were trying to catch Jesus in things. I laugh about Alicia, who works with us. I call Alicia the pencil girl, and here's why. She told me when she was a kid, if she was in class, she said if the teacher said anything, she would first raise her hand and say, it wasn't me. She said literally a teacher could walk by his desk and be like, hey, I'm missing a pencil. Teacher, it wasn't me. Like if you say anything, you can direct it to anybody else. She has to tell you, I didn't do it, right? Because I think, like me, she probably thinks, people are trying to accuse me of something or dig up dirt. It literally is crazy. There's been things happen here, and I'll say it, and it's so random, and she'll be like, just so you know, it wasn't me. I remember we, in the bathroom, it's like you think about the urinal cakes. No, it's disgusting. You know what urinal cakes are, right? Girls, you probably don't, but guys, you do. They're actually fun. Target practice, right? Anyways, with urinal cakes, and it's like, Alicia, I think someone got into our closet in the men's bathroom, and they stole a package of urinal cakes. I promise you, she's like, it wasn't me, just so you know. Okay, Alicia, I didn't think you were probably going to steal urinal cakes. That wasn't the top of my... But what we're going to see today is these guys did love catching people and accusing people and blaming people. This is what it says in John chapter 4. In John chapter 8, starting in verse 4. These men, I don't know the whole backstory, none of us do, but they've taken this woman they've caught in adultery in the very act, and they bring her in. She may be naked at that point. We're just in here filming online with a group of us, but I can't imagine right now if I'm just talking and someone brings in a scantily clad, if you will, lady, partially nude, maybe nude. Imagine that. Jesus is teaching, and in the middle of this, they drag this woman in. Here's what they say, verse 4. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? Now, you're going to see in a second, Jesus doesn't argue that because that was in the law of Moses. They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him, but Jesus stooped down. Call a real quick timeout. Some of you listening today, you're about to hear one of the most amazing stories you've never heard before. If you're a church person, you're like, oh, here we go again. Trent loves this story about Jesus and grace. We're so tired of it. So for all you Bible nerds, I'm going to give you a little something different today, okay? I want you to catch this. Notice what it said. This is where I want to just completely pause. We're going to time out for a double fire flashback. That's a tongue twister, but we are. Okay? Jesus, they walk up, they bring the woman, they're like, Lord, Moses says stone her. What are you going to do? And you notice what I stopped with? It said Jesus stooped down. Why? He stoops down into the dirt like this. And in this moment, I truly believe the Pharisees probably smiled. They were excited. Why? Because they thought, we've got her. Why do you say that? If you know anything about Numbers 5, here's what it says. Numbers 5 tells us that if a woman is caught cheating on her husband, I know you women already, women's lib, you're like, where's the guy? I agree. Not fair. But anyways, if a woman's caught cheating, then this is how they would actually question her. They would take dirt from the temple, bring her to the priest. Hey, I think sweet baby Jay's cheating on me. Hope not. Sweet baby Jay's cheating on me. What do we do? So they would literally go down and grab dirt, stoop down, grab this dirt. They would bring it in, and they would take a jar, and they would drop the dirt into the jar, spin it around, stir it real good. Oops. And then they would say, now you have to drink the dirt water. Why? Because according to them, their custom, they said, if you drink the dirt water and you don't get sick, then we know you didn't cheat. But if you did get sick, so let me just, some of you are like, you making this up? Let me read it real quick. Numbers 5. It says, the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Suppose a man's wife goes astray and she's unfaithful to her husband. The priest will then present her to stand trial before the Lord. He must take some holy water in a clay jar and pour into it dust or dirt he's taken from the tabernacle floor. He will make the woman drink the bitter water that brings on the curse. When the water enters her body, it will cause bitter suffering if she is guilty. Now, I'm not somebody to question God because he's so much smarter and more perfect than me. But do you think this is kind of a little bit of a trap anyways? Think about this. Hey, lady, we think you're cheating. I'm going to give you this nasty, dirty water. You better drink all of it. And if you get sick at all, you're guilty. I mean, think of that's something for us. It's like, hey, Trent, I need you to drink antifreeze. But if you get real sick and die, then we know something's right. It's like a witch hunt almost, right? In my mind. I didn't look that much into it. But it seems crazy. Why am I telling you this? Picture being this woman for just a second. You're thrown down. You're embarrassed. They are literally by law allowed to kill you. They all have these rocks in their hands to stone you. And they look at the master priest and they're like, Jesus, what do you say? It's the law. You know. You guys know the story. I want you to imagine the power as they're holding rocks in hand, yelling at this girl. And she's like, I'd rather just die. It's so embarrassing anyways. That Jesus literally, in that moment, flashback, stoops down. Could you imagine being that girl? It's like, wait a minute. Is he getting ready to grab dirt from the floor to make me drink the water? I know the rules. Jesus does something different. Jesus stoops down on her level. And the Bible says he just literally starts writing in the dirt. Now, I love church people because we all have to make up reasons we think that he did this. And we have things we think he said and he wrote. And they're all probably good, but we don't know. But look what it says. It says he wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. That's part of the law too. You see, in the law, you were allowed to condemn someone as long as you weren't guilty of the same sin. So he says, all right, if you've never sinned, you may do it. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust, the dirt again. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, began with the oldest until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Now I'm going to say this. This is going to be probably a little controversial. Makes me sad that I think sometimes my friends who don't believe any of this, my friends who think all this is fairy tale stuff, it makes me sad that if I really push them on this, they would say, well, you accuse people. We're the accusers. Jesus says, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? Best verse 11. No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Now go and sin no more. Now I want you to catch something about grace. Jesus didn't look at her and say, you promise you won't do it again? Yes, you saved my life. I mean, that's warranted. Yes, you saved my life. I won't ever do it again. All right, good. I forgive you. I don't condemn you. He doesn't do that. That's why the early church people and men and fathers didn't like this. They actually wanted it out of the Bible because they're like, look, he doesn't even wait for her to be sorry. He just says, I don't condemn you. Now, you don't have to live like this anymore. You may feel buried from your dirt. But just know this, with Jesus, you're being planted for something more. You see, religion and the world and people might take you in your dirt and you just feel like they're all just dropping more rocks on you. But Jesus takes the dirt and does something different. He actually plants something. He redeems it. So this morning, I just want to give you just a couple super fast things. Go fast. I want to give you kind of the action behind this, okay? The first is this. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't sweep it, as we talk about the dirt on you, don't sweep it under the rug. My wife, who's here filming, I love it. And this is, my kids joke because they're like, she's the greatest mom, wife, human. And they're like, Dad, what do you really do? Well, I'm a pastor at a church. We know your job. What do you do here? Like, she does everything. They're always like, she's married. It's like, she could do so much better than you. Hurts. It's kind of true, though. But here's my favorite thing. Sometimes I'll be watching like a football game, and she'll come in, and she'll have this wild hair. She's like, okay, I'm going to vacuum the front room. And she'll go in there and vacuum, which I get. It's like, hey, you don't want garbage, and you want your carpet to look clean. But here's what gets me. I'll be sitting in the chair, and she'll be like, hey, you need to get up. I need to vacuum under the couch. I'm like, why would you vacuum under the couch? No one can see it. And she's like, because it's not clean. See, I think some of us do that with our junk. We're like, no, as long as no one can see it, as long as I can hide it, who cares? Right, but that's not the case. Here's the good news, though. Living in darkness hides the mess, but living in the light will actually clean it. And we're about to see with Jesus here. Why? Because when others see your worst, check this out, Jesus literally offers his best. When others see only your worst, and that's what we all like to do, isn't it? Jesus actually offers his best. Look at verse 12, right after this happened. Jesus spoke to the people once more and said, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness. You don't have to live in the mess and the junk you live in. Do you know that? That's what Jesus is offering. He's like, hey, if you allow me to live through you and work through you, you don't have to live in the junk every day. See, I believe following Jesus makes life better and will make you better at life. I believe that wholeheartedly. That's part of finding your purpose. He says, because you will have the light that leads to life. And then Jesus answered, since you don't know who I am, you don't know who my Father is. If you knew me, see, throwback here, you would know who my Father was. He's like, I don't think you guys understand how my Father works. You see, religious people, they have shovels. But Jesus walks in the dirt with seeds. Huge difference. See, I can be like, I can judge religious people, but can I share something with you guys? Can I get real personal for a second? It's going to be shocking. Probably shouldn't say this online. This might go viral. I got to tell you guys a fact. Do you guys know that there are some people in Lawrence County that don't like me? I know. Shocking, isn't it? It shocks me. It shocks my mom. We can't believe anyone wouldn't like me. But it was probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. Someone made a comment that hurt. It hurt so bad. And part of me driving, at first I get angry, and then I'm like, but that's not even true, and I need to defend myself. And what should I say? I'm going all through stuff, and then I stop, and I'm like, it's not true. And you know what? This person's going through a lot, so I'm going to give them grace. I'm not even saying I handled it right, but why I'm telling you guys is because when it first happened, you know what I wanted to do? Just like the guys. Give me the rock. I'll make them pay. We don't have to sweep it under the rug. Why? Because Jesus says, even if others see your worst, I'll offer my best. So you know what happens sometimes when people bring me their worst? Maybe the most Jesus thing I can do is offer them my best. Think about that for a second. Maybe someone in your family, maybe someone in your life keeps literally bringing their worst. And you're like, you know what? Because Jesus is in me, living through me, I'm going to offer my best. I love this. Jesus didn't throw shade. He brought light. He didn't. Jesus didn't throw shade. That's for you young'uns. Try and talk your language a little bit. Guys, I can tell you this message is terrible because I have two people in the back right now, and they are bored out of their mind. The camera woman just fell asleep. Phil's is running the computer. I can tell he's on his phone. So I apologize. So I'll almost be done. Here we go. And last thing as we fire forward. Here's the good news. The dirt is gone. You see, Jesus, we're going to come back to this. Next week, Aaron's going to be talking another amazing story and kind of talking about how we kind of light the fuse, how we pass it on. Then I want to end in the final week. But here's what I want to share with this kind of commandment idea. See, Jesus gave us also not only new law, but a brand new one commandment. And this is John, who followed Jesus. He writes another letter, and he kind of summarizes this commandment. That's what he says in 1 John 3. He says, and this is his commandment, talking about Jesus. We must believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another, just as he commanded us. See, what John's doing is he's reiterating, and that's what we're going to talk about the next few weeks, is this brand new commandment that Jesus gave followers of him. So what is that commandment? Here's the best summary I've ever heard of it. We must first believe in... Wait, Trent, what do I need to do for God? Believe. I know that, but then after that, what do you need me to do for God? Believe. Believe what? Believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, that he's the Son of God. He's God in the flesh. Believe that he came to give us life. And then look what he says. And love one another just as he commanded us, as he loved us. Believing in Jesus removes the dirt. Loving others, though, keeps the light shining. So I want you to kind of hear this today, okay? And here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. You see, all of us, and maybe you had a lot of messes dumped on you. And because of that, let's be honest, because you've had so many messes and some inherited, but some actually just completely not your fault, you're going to be tempted to do really one of two things, kind of based on your personality. You're either going to cower and just say, I give up, it's not worth it, I quit. Or like me, you'll grab a rock and be like, I'll make them pay. And here's the thing. I'm going to trust Jesus, and I'm going to love others the way that he has loved me. What's that mean practically? Loving others means being a light to them, and that their dirt isn't the end of their story. Hear that? What's us loving? It means being a light to people and showing them this morning, okay, if you see this, that your dirt isn't the end of your story. Maybe some of you are just finally logging in because you even slept in from 11 o'clock, so you're waking up and you're seeing this. Who's the chubby guy on stage? Let me just say this. Hear this, and you can click right back off. Jesus is telling us your dirt isn't the end of your story. That's the good news. Why? Because he's the one who takes dirt and brings it to life. That's what God did in the very beginning. So I want to close with this thought. Okay? I wrote it down just so I wouldn't mess it up. Life is messy. We all have dirt. Whether it's something we've done, something done to us, or just the weight of living in a broken world. But here's the truth. The dirt in your life doesn't bury you. The dirt in your life does not have to bury you. Because of Jesus, he literally can plant something new. He looks right at this woman and he says, I don't condemn you. You know why? Because I'm going to take the punishment for every jacked up thing you've ever done. That's who I am. I don't condemn you. And here it is. You have two choices. You can either go super Bible Belt, which maybe is true. I don't know. I'm not that smart. The Bible Belt will be, and see what he said. He got angry, and he looked her in the eyes, and he said, now go, don't sin anymore, or else. And maybe some people who are way smarter than me watching online might be like, sure, that's exactly what he meant. Maybe. But what if he just looked at her, because he just said, I don't condemn you. And what if he said, you are made for so much more than this? What are you chasing? What are you trying to find? All those things I'm telling you, I can give. I don't condemn you. Now go and you can live different. You're free to not live this life. You're free not to blame everything on the messes you've created or the messes that have been dumped on you. So as we close, get ready to pray. The dirt in your life doesn't bury you. Not with Jesus. Because he plants you for something new. If you would take just a moment, let's pray together, okay? We're going to close our eyes. If you're driving, don't. But everyone else, you can close your eyes. Jesus, we thank you so much for how good you are. We thank you that you give us the complete picture of God. Is God holy? Absolutely. Is God perfect? No doubt about it. Were you both of those things? 100%. But Jesus, I thank you that you also give us this picture of you calling God Father. Jesus, I pray today. I pray for the people watching online that they would hear this good news, that the dirt on you doesn't have to bury you. Matter of fact, it might plant you for something even greater. So God, this morning, I pray for people who are struggling. I pray for people who are in the middle of a big mess, that they would be encouraged to realize this year doesn't have to follow like last year. This woman, yes, we love that Jesus rescued her. Jesus, we love that you give us that picture of who you are. But I also love the fact that you can look her in the eyes like you're going to look so many of us and say, you don't have to do this. You don't have to live like this. You don't have to live in the mess. You can. I still love you. But I love you so much, I wish you didn't. That's what he's calling us today. God, I pray for people in their mess. Some of them are, I know, I've heard their stories in the last couple weeks, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking messes. It's really heartbreaking because there's so many people who did nothing wrong, and because of life and what happened. So God, I pray today, I pray for people struggling in the mess. I pray that you would encourage them and they would realize the answer, as cheesy and Bible belt as it sounds, the answer is in your Son. How do we get rid of our mess? There's only one who doesn't bend down to grab dirt to make us drink it, but he writes to forgive us. Let us come to that one today. We ask these things in your name, and amen. All right, guys. Hey, so glad you're joining us. Most of you have already clicked off. I don't know why I'm talking right now, but I want to say this. One of our action steps this week, if you check on the app, is going to be the challenge. We want you, we're kind of doing the streak thing, but it's 5 days of just literally commenting or completing a reading on the app. Why do we want that? Because I'm telling you, from the bottom of my heart, I want you guys to be immersed in good news every day. And that's just a great habit for this year to be like, you know what? I'm going to be part of good news and hear good news every single day. So why don't you check out the app? You can. We'll include a link, but literally just go to c3church.tv/hub, and you can go right from there, click on the good news, and it's daily to read starting tomorrow. Love for you to join that challenge. Have a great week, and hopefully we see you guys live next Sunday. Take care.